Margaret Atwood's going to be here. Margaret Atwood is the author of so many wonderful books. This is just a handful, published more than 50 books that we know of, translated in more than 30 languages, gets into fights on Twitter, even flirts with people on Twitter. She is, she's the best. And here's the thing. Instead of playing a bio for her, I thought maybe we could do is read something from Margaret's new book, right? Mad Adam. I could read something for it, but then after reading this, I got all verklempt. It's just really difficult. So how about we ask somebody else to read from us? Some young people who benefit from the great work that Margaret Atwood has done over the years. Christine and Monroe from Degrassi. Take it away.
At the edge of sleep, she gropes towards the retreating dream, the burning city, the messengers sent to warn her that the world has been utterly changed, that the familiar is long dead, that everything she used to love has been swept away. As Adam 1 used to say.
As Adam 1 used to say, the fate of Sodom is fast approaching. Suppress regret. Avoid the pillar of salt. Don't look back. Margaret Atwood.
Thank you so much. Monroe and Christine from Degrassi. Always lovely to have the fine folks from Degrassi on the show reading the fine work of this wonderful person, Margaret Atwood! Welcome to the show. How are you?
Good.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Still with the purse. I
Brought
love
my
it.
handbag.
You brought your handbag.
I saw that tweet of yours. I would never, ever disappoint you by not bringing my handbag.
It's only because, and it's not me, it's the people. The people want to know. And so but it's always a different answer. I think it's fun, which makes me think you're hiding something really important in there.
The cough drops.
The cough drops. Yeah, you've been on the road on the book tour. How's that going? Are you in fighting spirit? How's that going?
I'm still on the planet. Yeah. This is good. But it is, let me see, it is month 2.
Right.
Yes, so I'm not finished until December.
Tell me about this.
I do have a story to tell you
Yes,
about that, and
okay.
it does have to do with gendering. Okay, so the first cover that was proposed for this book had nothing on it but flowers. They were white, dainty flowers.
Somebody presented this to you?
Yes.
And displeased, I imagine? You?
My point of view was that it was a misrepresentation of the contents. Yeah. That although there were several flowers in the book, mostly it was about cannibalism and evisceration.
Exactly. I would love to see that on the cover. So when you said that, how did they react?
Well, there was a bit of a struggle. And after that, they presented a black cover. They got the somewhat dark part about this book. Right. And they did, I said, put an egg on it, because eggs are featured. So they did have this egg, and they had this. And then all around it, they had some flowers. Except they were dead flowers. Right. So they got the dead part. Right. Understood that.
But there's a lot, I mean, the eggs, there is a lot of love in this book and rebirth in this book, and usually even those cannibalism and evisceration, there is also the cycle of life that appears in this.
That is true. That's true, yes, but none of it has to do with flowers.
This is why you're the best. Okay, so, easily you're the best. In the book, I like just the idea of trying to understand.
Best what, George?
All of it.
I don't think there's a category.
All of it. I've been doing this in some form for 20 years, and I never get as excited as I do when you're coming on, because you and it's not to embarrass you, but you make this country a better, more interesting place. In your whole thing about you, it's true. It's true. I mean, so you came up as an outsider, in a sense, not just gender-based, but also in your approach to it.
Being a writer in Canada was an outsider then, George.
Is it now?
No.
No?
No, now we recognize that there is such a category that doesn't have to be in quotation marks, and that it is not an automatic humor generator in places like England. You know, back then in, say, 1975, you would say Canadian writer, and they would start to giggle. They would start to giggle. They would say, well, that surely that's an oxymoron.
Are we better than they are now? Should we make it a competition?
I don't think it's a question of better or worse. we are no longer easily dismissed.
Right. And that
Let's
happened.
put it that way.
You're a big reason for that.
Oh, thank you for saying that, dear. So kind of you.
Do you feel like you're getting old?
Fought the good fight.
You sure have.
Yes.
You
Do
do?
I feel I'm getting old? No, but I like making fun of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
As
In
a
10 years, it's not going to be such a joke.
So it's a coping mechanism for the next 10? Is that what it is?
I'll wait till I get there, and then I'll tell you. Ask me then.
Tell me about this. How would you describe love? What is love to you?
You're asking me for the answer to the universe?
Just how,
Yeah.
you would have a satisfactory answer, I'm sure, but how would you describe it?
Which category? Macaroni and cheese?
Yeah.
Your cat?
Right.
Your kids?
No, a partner.
Your dog?
A partner.
Your partner?
Your partner.
Somebody you just met?
No, somebody
Somebody you've been with for 40 years?
Yeah, that one.
Okay. How am I getting on with Graham? You're wondering.
No, I was, well,
Sorry, but there isn't an opening.
no, I wasn't, no,
Not
I mean,
available.
listen, I'm around.
Not you, and not Rob Delaney. Anyway,
You
there's,
flirt with Rob Delaney on Twitter.
but only on Twitter. Yes,
Listen.
I'm old enough to be able to flirt on Twitter without consequences. It's okay.
I'm not talking about you and Graham. No, what love feels like. Like, how would you describe that,
Or
that
as
feeling?
Carl Hyacin said to me, because we did an event in New York recently at the library, he said, "Do you get many letters from prison?" And I said, "Not as many as I got when I was younger."
But you did.
Put it that way.
How do you describe love?
You're being incisive, aren't you?
I'm trying to know.
Are you being an incisive interviewer?
I'm just
Okay,
talking
so
to Margaret.
the thing over time with somebody you've been with for a long time, we're not talking Romeo and Juliet. I would say that is a matter of reciprocal tolerance. Plus, if you have a sense of humor, it really, really helps if the other person has a sense of humor too. Otherwise, you're not going to make it through for the 40 years.
No. Let me play some.
They will just get irritated with you because you make fun of them, and they're not allowed to make fun of you back.
Listen
but
to
in
this.
our relationship, it goes both ways.
Listen to this.
Does it bother you at all that, well, let's put this way, can you make a living from your writing?
Yeah,
From your writing itself or from spin-offs from it?
not just from poetry.
No.
Although if I lived very frugally and ate nothing but onions and wieners, I probably could. But if you throw in novels and short stories, then I could.
That's an interview that Graham did with you.
Oh, yeah. That's cute.
He interviewed you.
Yeah, not only that, he made a book out of that. It's called 11 Canadian Novelists, and he took all the photographs that are in that book of the different writers. It's the first interview book of writers that was done in this country.
When you hear his
Think
voice
of that.
back and hear you guys having that conversation 40 years ago.
I'm thinking, our voices have changed somewhat.
When you take your name and Alice Munro's name out of the list of books submitted for awards, the ratio of how many women to men or trans to women to men is so much smaller and concerning. Do you see it change? Is it improving in a way that you like it?
Well, okay, so in the 70s, it was the men who were complaining that they were outnumbered.
Right.
But they've made a comeback.
But yes, so how did they make the comeback?
I think they just tried really hard.
So are you suggesting that there are not enough women in writing because the women aren't trying hard enough?
No. There's a lot of women in writing. And there's a lot of women writing really well. And I can't say too much about this because I am a Giller judge this year, but it is a very rich year for writing. So some years you think, okay, so these made it onto the list because there weren't very many out there. But this year, there are a lot of very, very good books. It's a very rich coral reef ecosystem in the world of Canadian prose writing right now.
There's conversations about trying to modernize Shakespeare, and how do you get kids to pay attention?
Let's get this straight. We're not doing any rewriting of the sacred words.
Right. They are sacred words,
Those
right?
sacred words will stay the way they are. We will revisit them as we revisited the Odyssey through the Penelopiad. We will revisit it to try to answer some of the never answered questions about that text.
Stick around, more with Margaret Atwood after this.
All right, coming up, lunch with Sylvia Plath. To Margaret, that's a scary proposition, and not just because Sylvia's been dead for 50 years. We'll get into it.
My name is Aminata Fourneau. I'm a writer. I'm going to read from Margaret Atwood, The Handmaidens' Tale. I read this book when it was first published over 30 years ago, and then I reread it again last year and was really astonished at Atwood's prescience in foreseeing that the fight for the independence of women, for the emancipation of women, would not be a straightforward struggle, that for every step or two steps that women took forward, there would be a step back.
Did you ever imagine when you wrote that book the impact it would have had years later?
Never. Not at all. I was writing it in '84. I actually was corny enough to start it in 1984. And I was living in West Berlin at the time, and West Berlin at that time was still encircled by this wall, and nobody had any idea that it was going to all change in about 5 years.
Anthropology. Okay, when I say motherhood, you say?
What?
Okay. I often say that too. When I say libraries, you say?
Oh, just a minute now.
Yeah.
This is a word association quiz.
Yeah.
Okay. Get that part straight.
When I say motherhood, you say?
I say Mad Adam, the last 3 chapters.
Nice. When I say libraries, you say?
They will survive or else.
Who'd you rather have lunch with?
Or I'll know the reason why.
Who'd you rather have lunch with? Jane Austen, Sylvia Plath, Virginia Woolf?
Jane Austen, no, hands down. Why? Because
Yes.
Sylvia Plath would have started throwing the cutlery around. Virginia Woolf would have considered me a gauche colonial. Jane Austen would have probably thought I was from another planet, but that's okay.
You can live with that.
I can live with that.
This is it here. Mad Adam. Margaret is also, as you know, a juror on this year's Scotiabank Giller Prize, which will be live on CBC Television on Tuesday, November the 5th. Always a pleasure, Margaret.
Pleasure.
Margaret, whatever you want.